up, YouTube? This is Andre from RAC. Last week you guys posted your questions, so I'm here to answer them. So one of the top questions that we got here is, will you do a Chapter 2 album? Yes. I don't know when, but I will. The next question from SB. What do you think of Seattle? Being a native of Portland, I'm sure you at least have some sort of opinion on the city and people themselves. Saw you at Capitol Hill Block Party. Love your set, by the way. Thank you. That was a really fun show. I'm not native from Portland. I've been here for maybe 5 years or so. I've been to Seattle many times. My impression of it is pretty good. I always have a great time there, and people are really nice, and especially when we play shows, like, they've always gone very well, so that's great. I've always felt like it was kind of like Portland's bigger, older brother, and I think that still holds true. Next question from Swimming is Me. Would you rather be half your height or double your weight? I think I'd probably rather be double my weight. I like being tall. Phoenix wrote, what is the ultimate answer of life, the universe, and everything? 42. What is your favorite plugin? I'm actually kind of a hardware guy. I mean, I use plugins all the time, but I'm primarily based on hardware. I don't use a lot of plugins for synths and that sort of thing. I do use a lot of mixing plugins, so I'll use a lot of UAD stuff, reverb, EQs. So Helen Nee asked, how do you choose which songs to remix? So this is actually a pretty common question and something that comes up fairly often. I think it's a little bit misunderstood. First things first, I do this for a living, so this is my job. Remixing is what I do. The way that works is, a label or an artist or somebody will reach out and, they'll basically hire me to do this. In many ways, it's kind of like part of like a marketing strategy. Just trying to give a song like another life or something like that. So it's very intentional, and it's done with full approval and through the artist. Because of that, I'm fairly limited on what I can work with. It happens pretty often when somebody posts on Facebook or Twitter or whatever asking me to remix a song. It's not that I don't want to, it's that's just not how this works. That's just simply on a financial level. On a practical level, you need the files, you need all kinds of stuff. You can't just get an MP3 and remix it. You need the full files, the full Pro Tools or whatever from the original artist. So you always have to do things officially, and that's one thing that with RAC I've always wanted to do from the start. So since 2007, all remixes have been like official and released properly. Dragonfire 84724 asked, brown bread or white? Brown bread. And if you had a career that had nothing to do with music, what would it be? Before I went to college, I was choosing in between design and music, and I ended up going with music. I still have a pretty big interest in design, and not necessarily web design, but just design in general. Who knows what would have that been like? So Smeg Olson asked, how did Porter Robinson approach you? Through Twitter. I had actually played shows with him before in 2011. This was before I think he became like pretty popular. He wasn't really on my radar. Like, I mean, I knew that he was right. I knew who he was. I knew the kind of music that he made, and it just wasn't really my kind of music. So I wasn't too interested. When he he reached out and he kind of explained what he was trying to do and all this stuff, and it really kind of just made perfect sense. I mean, here's somebody that I was very wrongfully dismissive of when he showed me the new material that he was working on, and like trying to kind of explain what he was doing. It really kind of it sounded awesome, and it's something that I have a great deal of respect for. So Johnny Football asked, is my penis supposed to be this color? Probably. T. Dantana asked, what's your alcoholic drink of choice? Probably tequila. With which artists would you like to do a collab? I mean, there's a long list. I'm always trying to work with different people. I don't know if I want to give anything away though, because I'm working with a lot of people that I really like. And on the record on Strangers, I got to do I got to work with a lot of people that I really admire. So I'm gonna leave that one unanswered. Sorry. Tanish Thomas asked, how many instruments do you currently use in production? How many instruments do you think you have acquired in your career? How much do you think they all cost? I don't really want to get into cost. I mean, music gear is expensive, and I spend a great deal of money on it. I have a lot of analog synths. I collect those. Some pretty basic stuff, guitars, bass. I have a couple of each, and I'm really into the technical side of recording, so I have a lot of equipment, and that's something that I really value. In fact, I should probably do a new like studio tour video thing. I did one maybe a year or two ago, and I've got a lot of stuff since then. Undercover Albino asked, where did you get your inspiration to start creating and remixing other songs? Thought about this a lot. I was never drawn towards remixing specifically. It was a practical thing. When you think about it, what I'm doing to a song is, I'm recreating this bed of music underneath it. So for me, it was only because I don't sing. That was where my initial, interest in it came from, is because it was a practical thing. It's like, I didn't want to write instrumental music, so I had this vocal, so I was like, cool, I have a vocal now. I felt pretty creatively fulfilled by that. The first part of that question is, I'm assuming about, original material and just the creation of music in general, and I think that came in pretty early. I remember when I was maybe 10 years old or something like that, I had like a tape recorder, and me and my friends would like record these talk show musical things. I've just always been kind of interested in creating something. It was never music specifically until later, but I've always had just a general interest in it. Caesar asked, how would you say your life changed after you've gained popularity through music? Was your connection with the Shins the boost you needed to get noticed? It's a good question, and something that I'm still kind of wrapping my head around. It's like for the first 4 or 5 years, I was certainly getting some kind of recognition, mostly online. And then maybe in the past year or so, things really kind of took off, and it's really not an issue at all in my life or anything like that. But every once in a while, like somebody will recognize me, and that's really fun and really humbling, and it's really nice to be recognized for what you do. But it's something that I'm still sort of grappling with. I think I'm naturally a bit of an introvert, so that was something that I'm not necessarily prepared for, and I'm just kind of going with it as it happens. On a very specific level, I think my life has gotten easier. People are nicer to you, and they treat you differently. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing, but it's something that is happening. The second part of the question about the Shins, that was actually the very first remix I ever did professionally, officially as RAC. It was massive. To have my first official release be reviewed on Pitchfork is kind of a big deal at the time, and really kind of paved the way for everything else to come. So I got really lucky on that first one, and then things just kind of snowballed from there. Elizabeth asks, what's your favorite song you've posted so far? I don't think I have a favorite. These songs, they all kind of mean something to me. It has more to do with what they meant to me in context of where my life was, or the last question about the Shins, where that was the first one. Obviously that means a lot to me. If I would do that now, it would probably mean something very different. It's like picking a favorite child. I don't think you can really do that. There's obviously some that I like better than others, but I don't think I could have a favorite. Aaron asked, what/who do you listen to get inspiration for your productions? I listen to a lot of music. I think I'm inspired by most music. I always find stuff interesting that's a little bit deeper than kind of the usual. Something that's a little bit weird, something that's a little different. I think especially for the last record, Strangers, that was pretty heavily inspired by a lot of Paul Simon, Fleetwood Mac, stuff like that. People that did albums, like albums. Kind of lately, I'd say I've been slightly obsessed with Kimbra's record, The Golden Echo. I think it's amazing. I think after the first time I heard it, I think I wanted to quit music. Next question is, when will you do a Europe tour? France wants to see you, especially me. I'd love to tour Europe all the time. That's where I'm from. So, the realities of touring, it's tough, and you don't always get to travel as much as you want to. So we're obviously working on something. We don't have any concrete exact plans, but hopefully something next year. Your favorite music festival you've played at? I think I'm going to say Lollapalooza, just because of kind of the rich history it has. It's a major festival, and it feels really nice to be kind of included in that. And it was a moment where I kind of realized that things were really kind of moving. It felt really good. There was this moment during our set that it was pouring rain. It was really bad, and the sun came out. It didn't stop raining, but the sun came out. It was just this really cool part of the song, and it kind of just opened up. A lot of people kind of looked up and smiled. It's just this cool moment. That's never gonna happen again, and I don't know. That was cool. It made that that show pretty memorable. I mean, while we're talking about festivals, I kind of wanted to touch on this. You know, festivals are amazing. You get to see all these bands and all this stuff, but I hope people realize that you're kind of getting a little bit of a stripped down version, just on a sheer technical level. I mean, you can't accommodate that many acts and, you know, get the full kind of preparation that you normally get at a normal, you know, club show or something like that. So festivals are really fun, but they're also very stressful because it's just crazy. You literally have 20 minutes to set up something that you normally have 3 hours to do. Just jump up there and hope it all works. So Blackhawk303 asks, getting your music noticed must have been difficult at first. Before gaining any recognition, how did you go about getting stems from any of the remix? Also, what are your soft synths that you use? I kind of touched on this in a previous question. Since I work directly with the labels and that sort of thing, I get all the stems from them. So I don't do anything like, you know, competitions, that sort of thing. I don't really get involved in that. Early on, I had done a couple remix competitions and that sort of thing, and that really kind of helped me have at least a base level, something to, you know, to pitch to these different labels and artists, and something to kind of show for. I mean, this was a while ago, so this is like 2003, 2004, and you know, from there I really just kind of emailed everybody I could. Any band or any artist that I liked, I just emailed them and, you know, hoped that they that they'd say yes, and yeah, they did. Tyler asked, on your latest album, which song did you have the most fun creating or editing? Again, compared to the, you know, the remixes, same thing. It's kind of hard to pick a favorite. We Belong is something that I'm pretty proud of, like the string arrangements and all that stuff. Let Go, I'm pretty proud of that one too. I mean, I'm really proud of the entire record. Matt and Eleanor asked, similar question. When you were young, did you ever see yourself where you are today? Absolutely not. I wanted to be in the NBA when I was a kid. What is your inspiration when it comes to your music style? I think this style, or whatever it is really just the sum of all my interests and all my, you know, favorite kinds of music. Ultimately, the music that I make it's very selfish. I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing it for the pure purpose of pleasing myself. That sounds terrible, but that's true. With that said, I'm trying to write the, you know, music that interests me, that I like. You know, I'm trying to write something that I will personally enjoy. That is really kind of the deciding factor, and inevitably, I think I get a lot of influences from, you know, just stuff that I like. Data Dosh asks, for your video of Let Go, did you choose the cannibal theme, or was that a creative decision of the music video director? What are your favorite types of themes in music videos or in feature films? The way this works is, you know, well, I obviously wrote the song. What we do is we send out the song to a bunch of different music video directors and see kind of like who has an interest in working on this. And what they do is they send kind of like a pitch, an idea, or, you know, basic proposal of you know, something that they want to do and direct. Michael Dwyer, the director of that music video, came back with that theme. So that wasn't something that came from me at all. It was actually really interesting because we had gotten a lot of responses, like something like 30 different treatments for this music video. I was just overwhelmed by it. I couldn't pick one. Like it was too much stuff. And this one came in last minute, and it was like cannibalism. I was like, that sounds cool. Let's do that. You know, the more I looked into it, the more I realized that, you know, he took a bit of kind of like a literal interpretation of the lyrics at the time, and if you watch the video and listen to the lyrics, it makes sense. It's obviously very extreme, and, you know, kind of, it's meant to entertain, obviously, but I was really happy with that direction, and it was really fun to kind of gross some people out and, you know, just do a weird video. The second part of your question about, you know, themes in music videos and feature films, I'm a big fan of storytelling music videos. So something that kind of comes to mind is a lot of Smashing Pumpkins videos. Any kind of opportunity to do like a short film is really exciting to me. It's kind of like a creative outlet that, even though I'm not writing it, you know, but I'm still sort of involved. Like it's just cool to do that kind of thing. And it's actually kind of made me really interested in that kind of thing. So, you know, who knows? We'll see in the future. But as far as feature films, I'm a hardcore Stanley Kubrick fan, and I love horror, and I love kind of like psychological horror, and something to do with cannibalism just seemed kind of cool and kind of fun to do. Next question, about how long does it take to do a remix? About 2 or 3 days. I mean, I'll do it. I can do it in a day, but I'll spend like the next day kind of just listening and just kind of going over like small details. 3 days is kind of like a safe bet. So next question is, what does the Collective and Remix Artist Collective stand for nowadays? Excellent question. In order to answer this, I need to give you a little bit of history, so bear with me. I started RAC, and I started it in college. At the time when I started it, it was just me, so there was no collective in the beginning. It was kind of like wishful thinking. Like, I wanted it to be a collective, and I wanted other people to be involved and do the remix aspect of it. So that was the beginning of it. And you know, from there later on, there were a couple of people involved, and most notably Andrew Morey and Carl Kling were involved a great deal. I think was that like 2011 or so. Even then, I was still kind of doing, I'd say about maybe 90% of the remixes. It was still my project, and it kind of always has been. Things kind of naturally you know, just progressed, and Carl has been DJing with me for 5 years now, and Andrew Morey kind of moved into like mixing and that sort of thing, so we kind of all went in different directions, and I kind of took over all the remixing, so there was absolutely no weirdness about that, you know, like like bad drama or you know, there was no drama there. It was just, you know, it just kind of made sense, and it kind of evolved. With that said, you know, there's a live band. You know, I kind of collaborate with all these different people on the album, and there's all this very kind of collective-y aspect to it, even if it's technically my project. I even have it on my website. The name doesn't really make any sense, and it never did. For the past couple of years, I've just called it RAC. You know, I actually even thought about changing the name at one point. Next question is, where has your music taken you to? And do you ever think you'll come to South Africa? I'd love to go to South Africa. It's actually on my list. I feel incredibly fortunate because travel is something that, it's never something I really aspire to, but because of the job, I kind of need to do it, and I've really become to love it. It's a lot of fun, and I feel really lucky that I've been able to go all over the world and play shows, and also get to experience the culture and see all these amazing places. As far as South Africa, I mean, I'd absolutely love to go. Production tips and secrets. I mean, that's a whole nother video series in itself. I'm gonna go kind of broad with this, but like if there's like one production, it's not really a secret, but more of a tip, but this kind of took me a while to kind of learn this, but there's no wrong way of doing things. You know, I kind of grew up with a lot of people telling me that, oh, you know, I'm talking about like specific stuff, like you gotta record a kick drum this way, you gotta record a snare this, you gotta, you know, you have to do it this and that way, and you know what, it's not true. You can do whatever you want as long as you like it and you're happy with it and you think it sounds good. That's all you need. Meister Chan asks, what's it like for you to hear your own remixes / songs in stores while shopping? That's really weird. It's very weird, but also very funny and amusing to me. Is there any place or location that inspires you? I don't think places and locations have like a specific, you know, effect on me in that way. Music is a very kind of technical thing for me. There's not a lot of room for like a whim or like something, you know, to kind of like wait for the perfect moment to feel inspired by this. Like I have deadlines, like that doesn't work that way. Obviously, I absolutely love traveling. I love experiencing places, and I'm very interested in nature, and you know, that kind of isolation is very fascinating. But I don't know that it has like a direct impact on my music or anything like that. I think maybe more broadly, it has an impact on, you know, just kind of resetting yourself and just, you know, feeling okay. I don't know that it impacts my music. I'm not reading your question, and it doesn't seem like you're specifically talking about inspiring my music, so I guess I answered your question. Is there a Nintendo vs. Sega 3 in the works? Not in the works. I'm certainly not opposed to it. I'm sure we'll do it at some point. Mark H asks, do you mix / master your own music? And if not, who does? Yes and no. Depends on the project. So with remixes, I do my own mixing, and then somebody else masters it. With my original material, I decided to mix with somebody else. So I ended up mixing with my longtime collaborator, Andrew Morey, which you may know him from the RAC Morey remixes a couple years ago. As far as mastering goes, I have been working with Joe Laporta at Sterling Sounds, which highly recommended. Next question is, name the biggest mistakes that newbies make. I don't know, I try not to be too critical because I think everybody has their own path, but with that said, I find that a lot of people are, you know, kind of chasing trends, and I think that's a really bad move, and I think you should really kind of find your own way. Nothing wrong with being, inspired by something, or, trying something out. When you're just constantly chasing the latest, fad, it kind of sets you up to be just a one-hit wonder or whatever, If you get that lucky, most likely you won't be, because there'll be 14 other people that did it better before you. If you can create your own thing and be really happy with that, kind of carve out a space for yourself where you're just doing your own thing, I think there's real value to that, and I think you'll have a lot more longevity because of it. Next question is music production secrets. How did you learn it? Once again, the music production secrets, I mean, there's a lot you can talk about, and I kind of touched on that a couple questions ago. As far as like, how did I learn it? Really just trial and error, and I kind of think that's the way to do it. I feel like when you're forced to, figure things out yourself, it might not be the perfect way. That process of learning and perfecting whatever it is invaluable. Next question is, how much time does it take you to complete a song? Yeah, I think it takes me a couple days. With original material, it's a little different. It's a little more back and forth, and it takes a little bit longer. It can be as little as one day. It can be as long as 3 months. I don't know. Hard to say. Next question is, what's your favorite video game of all time? I think I might have to go with Half-Life. Not that I'd go back and play it now, but just kind of thinking back and that experience of just playing that game for the first time, it blew my mind, and I think it'll always be my favorite because of that. Next question is, your biggest mistake in a performance? We had a couple mishaps. I mean, it happens, it's just that's one of the great things about live music. You never really know if it's gonna work out. I think it was Dallas. We recently shifted, so this doesn't really apply anymore. Our live set, we used to have, especially with the remixes, since we didn't have the real vocalist there, we had, a recording, so it was like going through the computer. The show before that, we had played with Joywave. And he had come out to sing that, so I had muted that, the fake vocal or whatever, and then I saved it and forgot to turn it back on. So, we're happily playing the show, I trigger the song, and the vocal doesn't come in. If you know Ableton, you can't really turn that back on without Anyway, we basically had to start the song over, which is pretty embarrassing. I think I've gone through almost everything. There's a couple that are kind of overlapping, so hopefully answered everybody's questions. Fiona asked, do you often find inspiration hitting at random times, or do you have more of a regimented studio schedule? I don't rely on inspiration. If it does hit, it's awesome, and it makes things go a lot quicker, but at the end of the day, I have deadlines, and I need to finish stuff, and I need to work, and I take this very seriously, and I work primarily, I'd say about 10 a.m. to 6, 7, sometimes 8. I don't really work at night. I think a lot of people have this idea that, studio people work all night long, and it's just not like that. For me, at least, it's kind of like a job, and it's just one that I get to be creative in, so it's cool. I hear horror stories about people getting, they can't write an album for 2 years because they're not inspired by something, and that's too bad. I feel like I write better music if I practice it, not everything you're gonna write is gonna be awesome, but the more you do it, the more likely it is that you'll write something good. So that's sort of how I treat it. So, well, I think I hit all the questions. Thank you so much, and to do this again. See ya.